Hi, I'm Bruno Rodriguez. I'm a meteorologist here at the forecast office in Boulder, Colorado, and I've been with the National Weather Service for right around 3.5 years. So I started out my undergraduate career in Atlanta. I went to Georgia Tech and majored in Earth and Atmospheric Science, but with a track in meteorology. And then from there, I went over to San Jose State University for my master's, also in meteorology. And there I worked with the Fire Weather Research Lab, so fire weather specific research. And then things kind of just aligned. Really, when I was graduating, there was a mass bid in the Weather Service, and it had always been something that I was interested in. So I gave it a shot and thankfully got a position over at the San Diego forecast office in California. And that was my first office in the Weather Service. And I was there for right about 3 years. While I was there, I became certified as an incident meteorologist, or IMET for short. So essentially, we provide on site support on wildfire incidents across the country. And then it just so happened that there was an opening here at the Boulder office. Their IMET got a promotion somewhere else, so they were looking specifically for an IMET. So I gave it a shot. It had always been the place that I'd wanted to live. And here I am. And I've been here for a few months now. I joined the Boulder office back in September of last year. I'd love to say that I've always known I wanted to become a meteorologist, but that's not really the case for me. I was always interested in it as a kid. I think part of that was that I moved around a lot when I was young and experienced a lot of different climates. So I think that kind of piqued my interest. But really, I wanted to become a commercial airline pilot, and that even carried through into my freshman year of college. I actually started out my undergraduate career as an aerospace engineering major with the intention of becoming a pilot and getting all my pilot's licenses. But after my freshman year, I started to reevaluate things. I was told that on average, people were taking at least 5 years to graduate with that degree, and I wasn't quite ready to commit to that kind of time or even financially. So I decided to find a slightly different educational track that would still be applicable to airline pilots, and meteorology seemed like the perfect fit. So I officially switched my major to Earth and Atmospheric Science, still with the intention of becoming a pilot. And really, things kind of started to change as I switched my major. So I started to gain a little more interest in meteorology. I had an opportunity also to volunteer at the Weather Service office in Atlanta. So that was my first dip into the Weather Service. That's where I learned about the IMET program as well. And really, by the end of my undergraduate career, I'd done a complete 180, decided that meteorology was the right career choice for me. So I pretty much just forgot about the pilot dream and decided to look for graduate schools and a meteorology master's program. And I was really looking for something that was ideally fire weather related and also involving a little more field work and instrumentation, which I hadn't had experience with. And that's how I stumbled upon the Fire Weather Research Lab at San Jose State University. And that was a fantastic 2 years. We had some awesome on-site deployments to wildfires, worked directly with the IMETs, so that I got to kind of consolidate my interest in it. And then once I joined the agency in San Diego, I just started working with my supervisor on getting certified, and here I am. So I guess I'll describe a typical day in the life of an IMET because I think a lot of people are probably unfamiliar with what they do. So usually in the day of an IMET, we wake up really early, usually around 4:30 or something in the morning. Grab some coffee, obviously, and then just check to make sure the forecast from the previous day is still on track, and just get prepared for the first briefing of the day. And that's usually the biggest briefing generally 6 or 7 a.m. It's what we call the operational briefing, morning operational briefing. And that's really to everyone, not just the incident command team, but also to the firefighting crews on the ground. So that's where you discuss, the main forecast concerns for that day, or maybe the day after as well, if there's high impact weather on the horizon or something like that. And then after that briefing, sometimes you'll have one or two additional specialized briefings, such as an aviation briefing. So occasionally you'll go over to the helibase, for example, and give a more specific briefing detailing, smoke impacts, inversion lifting, winds aloft, things like that that are more relevant to them. And then after that, kind of mid-morning through mid-afternoon, sort of a flexible time frame, a lot of things can be happening depending on the day. If it's a quieter day, a lot of the time you'll be able to go out on the field with a fire behavior analyst and just observe the fire behavior, maybe take some observations yourself. But a lot of the times you'll have other things to do. So, if there's high impact weather in the forecast, sometimes we'll launch weather balloons late morning to help inform our forecast. If we're just getting started out on the fire and there aren't very many observations in the area, a lot of the times we'll go out on the field with technicians and install a temporary RAWS weather station somewhere that is of use to us. And then in the afternoon, there's usually one or two additional briefings. Almost always there's going to be a planning meeting sometime in the afternoon where you provide usually a more long-term forecast to help inform incident command strategies and tactics and whatnot. Sometimes there will be a community meeting in the evening where you speak directly to the public and answer their questions. And then throughout the day, we often deal with media interviews as well. If it's a high impact day or a very active day on the fire line, or there's a community that's been impacted or something like that. And then sometime late afternoon or in the evening is when you kind of really sit down and finalize your forecast for the next operational period, the next day. And then after that, you just work on whatever projects you have going on, and then usually head back to bed around 9 or 10 p.m. So I'm pretty fortunate in that I'm fluent in both English and Spanish. I grew up speaking Spanish at home. My parents are both from Spain, and I went to high school there. So I'm really happy to be a part of a couple of national teams in the Weather Service that help with various Spanish language services on a volunteer basis. So one of them is the Multimedia Assistance in Spanish team, or MAS team for short, and the other is the National Spanish Outreach team. So both teams help a lot with translation of various materials, whether it's an article for NOAA Communications or it's a DSS graphic that a forecast office needs translating ahead of a high impact weather event. A lot of the times we will do interviews in Spanish for both national or international media outlets. And we've also worked on things like establishing translations for Spanish language WIA, or wireless emergency alerts. So just wanted to make sure people know that those teams are out there, and certainly we're always happy to help. Each team has, I'd say, a few dozen volunteers, and there's usually always someone available to help with translations if anyone needs that. So feel free to reach out if you're ever in need.